What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chip, back at you from RVA Vapes. And this week, we got Ask-A-Vaper coming up for you. So, for those of you who are not aware, we appreciate you tuning in. And basically, we do this little monthly web series that talks about vaping. And it's meant to be educational in nature. So, the idea is that we want each and every one of you guys that has a question that maybe haven't been able to get a straight answer about, or that you haven't talked to the proper people to get the right information. This is where you bring those questions. So if you don't have a local vape shop that can answer them for you, this is what we're doing. I take, an hour out of my week every month to try to answer as many of your questions as I can possibly answer in an hour. So that being said, this show is yours. We want to make sure that any possible questions you have can get a thorough answer to, but also we want to make sure that we try to give the best possible information. So I'm not necessarily going to tell you that I know everything, because that's certainly not the case. But I do want to make sure that if there's something specific that you want to know, that I can get you an answer for that. And that's really what it's all about for us. We've been doing this for a little over a year now, and we've had some really good conversations with regard to vaping and what's been going on in the vape world. But we want to try to kick it up another notch. So that requires you guys to participate a little bit more. We get dozen, maybe 15 to 20 different questions every week, and I love that. I appreciate you guys for writing in and asking your questions. But I want to see that pop off a little bit more. I want to see a little better involvement on your end, and then I'm going to do a little bit better research and planning on my end. Does that sound like a fair deal to you? Want to wish everybody out there happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving week, so I want to be the first to wish you a happy Thanksgiving if nobody's done that yet. At my Thanksgiving, we usually go around the table and tell everybody what we're thankful for, right? And I'm thankful for vaping. This has saved my life, and it's given me the only thing that ever worked to help me quit smoking. So I'm super thankful for that. It's given me, the ability to go to work every day and do something that I love to do. So I'm super thankful for that. And I'm thankful that you guys allow me to, share your computer screen or phone screen or, TV screen in some houses. And I'm thankful that I get an hour of your time every month. So please keep tuning in, and make sure you stop at some point this week if you haven't already, and just tell people that you appreciate them, or let them know that you're thankful that they're in your life. And that's for you, wife, if you're watching, which you're probably not, because you don't do the vape things like I do. But nevertheless, I am thankful for you, wife, and the rest of you little kids and family and whatnot. So now that we got all the sappy shit out of the way, I'm sure a lot of you tried to tune in last week, and I apologize for the late notice that we were pushing the show back a week. But the FDA dropped a fairly big announcement, and I wanted to have time to properly prepare a rebuttal before I just went live and started blabbing my mouth off on the interweb. So, this, for those of you that are not aware, is what I'm talking about. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm like doing three things at the same time, so bear with me, but we're going to get it going now. There it is. Boom. All right. So, this is what I was talking about. Now, you'll see my mouse right here somewhere, I believe. There we go. So this long announcement is what I was referring to. And it says, FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb on proposed new steps to protect youth and prevent access for flavored tobacco products, and banning menthol in cigarettes. So, what does this really mean? Well, it's a proposed rule that's going to... Where's the bullet points version at? A lot of this part up here is just posturing, and giving sources of where they're getting this, for lack of a better term, misleading information. And where's the bullet points? A little further. Here we go. Flavored ends products that are not sold in age-restricted in-person locations. So basically, they're saying that anywhere you're going to buy flavored ends or vape liquid products has to be in an age-restricted or in-person location. Of all ends products other than mint, menthol, and tobacco sold in age-restricted in-person locations. So that means like brick and mortar vape shops or tobacco stores. Places where sold in physical locations where people under the age of 18 are not permitted, like a vape shop. FDA is revisiting the compliance policy, blah, blah, blah. So, see, it says right here, age-restricted locations, such as vape shops, adequately prevents persons of 18 from entering at the store at any time, or a section of the establishment adequately prevents entry of persons of age 18 under. Flavored ends products are not visible or accessible to persons under 18. Then a bunch of other stuff about mint and menthol. And then there's a whole online section right here, which is kind of vague, but it basically says seek to curtail the sale of applicable ends flavors that are sold online without heightened age verification processes. What does that mean? Most vape shops or vape online retailers are supposed to have third-party age verification processes that ping against a state or federal database. So how you're going to heighten that, I'm not really sure, but working to identify these heightened measures of age verification, restrictions preventing youth access via online sales, and because no tobacco products should be sold to kids, including non-flavored ends, the FDA will continue to enforce the law. Whatever see online sales of these products to minors will closely monitor the sale of mint and menthol ends products as well. So, to unpack all that, we are going to unpack all that here, and basically the way that reads to me is that they're using their old faithful dog whistle politics argument of the kids. We're so concerned about the kids. These are getting into the hands of kids. Now, let me be frank and say that we at RVA Vapes do not support underage use of tobacco, alcohol, firearms, nicotine, e-cigarettes, whatever possible thing you could say that would make us look bad. We do not support that. So let me start off by saying that. We are not advocating for any child e-cigarette use or nicotine delivery systems or anything like that. We don't sell to kids. We card people. We're not about that. So if you come in here, you better have your ID. Bottom line. That being said, using this argument to try and stop people of a certain age that are legally allowed to have access to these products, I don't personally agree with. I think it's stupid. And this, just like everything, is kind of a compromise. There's good parts and there's bad parts about it. You know, being that we run a vape shop, we'd much rather have people come here than buying stuff at a tobacco store or a gas station or a convenience store. So I'm not going to say that I'm totally against that. But the reality of the situation, as I see it, is basically that most people are going to go to where it's convenient for them. So what that means is if I'm used to stopping at the gas station right by my house to get gas and coffee in the morning and maybe some, breakfast sandwiches or something, and I used to buy a pack of cigarettes there. I don't smoke anymore, so now I go to my local vape shop. But if I was a customer that was used to purchasing, a vape device at that gas station and they no longer sell that, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm just going to buy a pack of cigarettes the next time when I get there and they don't have my vapor. There's a 50% chance I'll seek out, a local vape shop where I can continue to get vapor products, But that's a pretty big gap there. You know, that's a flip of the coin as to whether or not I'm forcing you to choose between going and seeking out a new place that I may or may not have a good experience with, or just buying what's comfortable and convenient, which is a pack of cigarettes. So that I'm really not cool with. Forcing the hand of an adult to make an adult decision as to whether or not they want to go back to smoking or continue to use vapor products, tobacco harm reduction products. The fact that the FDA is basically saying we're taking this option away and forcing you to make a choice is not something that I agree with. So that's not limiting the access of these products to people of age is not something that I'm for, and it's not something that I agree with. But that's why it's a proposed rule. So we have to, you know, when they open it up for commenting, we have to let them know that that I do not feel limiting any type of vapor products to people of age is okay, in my opinion. But, you know, that's just one piece of this puzzle. The other thing it talks about is flavors. And they've been going after flavors with the same argument that they're appealing to kids. Well, that sounds logical, but when you follow that train of thought all the way back to, well, what about Fruit Loop flavored vodka? They don't have any problem letting the liquor store sell flavored vodka, so why should the vape store or the convenience store not be allowed to sell flavored vapor products? Doesn't make any sense there. And that's just one of the, you know, many hypocrisies that you'll find in a lot of this ruling and legislation, especially with regard to the FDA. But we all know that comes down to, you know, the alcohol lobbyists pay a lot of money for campaign contributions. So they're paying these people's campaign to get them elected. Therefore, once they get elected, they have to answer to these lobbyist groups. And that's why you see such a big gap between, you know, what's good for one industry versus what's good in another industry. It all depends on how many dollars they're putting in those the pockets of the people that are running. So that brings us to this fun little fact that was put out in an article in Vapun magazine, which is a vape magazine that some of our friends have, and they put together this really good article. And this is why I want everybody to pay attention to the word dog whistle politics, because in the grand scheme of things, if you look at all the studies that are being done and all the numbers that are reported as far as youth are concerned, texting while driving, 39.2%. Alcohol, wow, didn't we just bring that up? 29.8%. The use of marijuana, which is becoming legal in more and more states, but not for people underage, 19.8%. Bullied at school, 19%. Abused prescription pain medicine, which in my personal opinion, is the epidemic of all epidemics we need to be focused on, but that's neither here nor there. 14%. Attempted suicide, 7.4%. I feel like that's a lot higher than it used to be. But regular vapors, 3.3%. So out of all 7 of these percentages, this is the one that the FDA this is the hill they're willing to die on. What does that tell you? That tells you that somebody is paying a ton of money to force this issue. And we can only guess as to who that would be. I'm not going to go through the whole article because it basically says a lot of what I've already said tonight and some of the numbers. But you can go to vapun.com and read the full article on their website. It's a really good piece. So if you're so inclined, please check that out and support them. Now, the second part of this, I want to play you guys this little clip that I found. It was actually an interview from what I've already said tonight and some of Scott Gottlieb.
To presumably, hopefully off of nicotine altogether, but for adults who still want to get access to satisfying levels of nicotine under Tobacco
I'm
Control
going to
Act
cue
and
that
the
back
mandate
real
we
quick.
had to reduce smoking rates to try to accelerate the migration of adult smokers off of combustible tobacco onto, presumably, hopefully off of nicotine altogether. But for adults who still want to get access to satisfying levels of nicotine, we've promulgated policy to try to create more innovation when it comes to nicotine replacement therapy, and also to try to accommodate the development of new innovations, electronic nicotine delivery systems like e-cigarettes, that we think could be a viable alternative for adults who still want to get access to nicotine and want to do it through an inhaled route and don't want all the risks associated with combustion. And I've said all along, if we can migrate every adult smoker completely onto an e-cigarette, it will have a profound public health impact. E-cigarettes are not risk-free. They certainly have risks associated with them, but they are certainly safer than combustion. I think we can all accept that. But I said back then,
Hold the phone. Did he just say what I think he just said?
and dozens of times.
Because I know you heard that. If every adult smoker migrated off of traditional tobacco products onto e-cigarettes, it would have a profound public health impact. Doesn't say good or bad, but most of you can fill in the blanks there. But if this is how he truly feels, then why would he put this rule in place that forces people to make that choice of convenience? You know, Amazon is one of the largest corporations in the world, and they built their entire business model on the fact that we are creatures of habit and we will always choose what's most convenient for us. And this gentleman that just said what he said is now saying, and this was like, you know, the timestamp's on there, the 13th of November. So this was literally like a week and some change ago. A week to the day. That's right. It was last week when I saw this. This same individual that just said that is also saying that he wants to take vapor products out of all convenience stores. And then there's this.
Times since that this cannot come at the expense of addicting a whole generation of kids on nicotine through these e-cigarettes. And that's in fact what we're seeing. We're going to announce regularly, then they go on to become long-term users. And we now know that kids who initiate on nicotine through e-cigarettes are at a higher risk of using combustible tobacco later. And in fact, combustible tobacco rates have also gone up.
I have to stop you right there, Scott. I'm starting to feel like the InfoWars dude, but I have to call bullshit on that. There is no evidence that I have been able to find that supports either of those two statements. A, that electronic nicotine delivery systems is a gateway to combustible smoking. No proof anywhere of that. And B, that combustible smoking usage is up. Come on, Scott. Seriously? What evidence could you possibly have manipulated to prove that fact quantifiably? The reason that all of this is going on is because Big Tobacco is losing their crap because e-cigarettes and vapes have become so popular and they're such a better alternative to combustible tobacco. Straight up bullshit.
That we're seeing right now, and we're creating a whole pool of risk for the future to re-accelerate smoking rates among young people after seeing historic declines. And so we're going to have to step into the market, and we will. And we're going to have to create some speed bumps, unfortunately, that might make it a little harder for adults to get access to the full range of products that they want in order to make it a lot harder for kids to get access. We have to address the appeal and the access that these products have to kids. And the primary vehicle for appeal is the flavors, the fruity flavors, and the primary vehicle by which they're getting access are not the online sites. Actually, a very small percentage of these products are being sold through online channels. It's the convenience stores. And I don't... We did the largest single enforcement action in the history of the agency where we did an undercover operation to target sales of e-cigarettes to youth in convenience stores. Based on the resources we put against that, we expected to get 300 violations. We got 1,300 violations. We now have a sustained effort underway. We're putting significant resources against looking at e-cigarette sales at convenience stores to kids, and that's going to be ongoing in perpetuity. But we need to address the accessibility of these products at convenience stores. So we're going to be putting in place some additional restrictions on how these products can be sold, particularly the flavored products. We're going to differentiate between the cartridge-based systems and the open tank systems. The open tank vaping systems are by and large used by adults. They're sold in adult-only vaping stores, of which I believe there's around 10,000 in this country. It's the cartridge-based systems that are sold in the convenience stores that are getting into the hands of the kids. And we're looking at statistics now. You talked about smoking rates coming down. They have come down. And that's my legal mandate, is to bring down smoking rates. But if you look at in place based on the resources we put against that, we expected to get 300, 1,500 violations. We now have a sustained
Sorry, I wanted you to hear that again.
cigarette sales at convenience stores to kids, and that's going to be ongoing in perpetuity. But we need to address the accessibility of these products at convenience stores. So we're going to be putting in place some additional restrictions on how these products can be sold, particularly the flavored products. We're going to differentiate between the cartridge-based systems and the open tank systems. The open tank vaping systems are by and large used by adults. They're sold in adult-only vaping stores, of which I believe there's around 10,000 in this country. It's the cartridge-based systems that are sold in the convenience stores that are getting into the hands of the kids. And we're looking at statistics now. You talked about smoking rates coming down. They have come down. And that's
See? He just admitted smoking rates have come down. So he's talking out of both sides of his mouth right here. And this is what happens when you've got somebody that knows the facts, but they also know where the checks are coming from. And he's not a politician. So the trail of money is a little more convoluted when it comes to the FDA. But needless to say, their salaries are paid by big pharma and big tobacco companies, because they have to submit these millions of dollars with these pre-market applications, and the FDA keeps that money whether they approve it or not. So it's in the FDA's best interest to approve all of these to keep those checks coming through. But the fact that he just said, what is this, a 5-minute long tape, and it's been we're 3 minutes and 44 seconds into it, and he's already said smoking rates are skyrocketing amongst youth, and then here at 3:44 he says smoking rates have gone down, and that's my legal mandate.
My legal mandate is to bring down smoking rates. But if you look at tobacco use overall, and e-cigarettes are tobacco products, whether people accept that or not, and we get a lot of criticism around that, they are tobacco products. They are legally tobacco products. You're looking at statistics right now, we're almost...
Pay attention to what he just said, because that's a very, very important sentence that he just said.
But if you look at tobacco use overall, and e-cigarettes are tobacco products, whether people accept that or not, and we get a lot of criticism around that, they are tobacco products. They are legally tobacco products. You're looking at statistics right now where almost a third of all American kids, are using some form of tobacco product. And it's not just...
that the phrasing of that sentence is very important, because up until, I don't know, a week ago when I first saw this, I didn't really understand why they had deemed this a tobacco product as opposed to keeping with the traditional or making a new category, other than the fact that it would cost too much money or they didn't know how to handle it. But that sentence that he just said, to me, fills in the gaps of everything with one fell swoop. They deemed this a tobacco product simply for the convenience of being able to lump all this stuff into one statistical category. So when he says 1/3 of all teens have reported using a tobacco product, you can't differentiate between what he's talking about. It could be chew, snus, heat not burn, cigarettes, cigars, or vaping. That's the key element to this statistic that I'm totally seeing where the wool is being pulled over our eyes. So just keep that in mind, that they're really going out of their way to make this an issue when clearly, as he talked about, clearly the issue is not as big as they're making it out to be, based on the vaping article that we saw with the infographic that showed you the different reported percentages. And I believe that information came from a government source. I want to say the CDC, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. But I know it came from a government source. So they deemed it a tobacco product just so they could make these numbers look the way they wanted them to look. And then they can come after small businesses and try to take away your rights as a consumer to be able to get access to vapor products, which he just admitted are a much better alternative. But I'm not legally allowed to say that. All this stuff is just crazy that this is where we're at as a country right now. But let me get off that soapbox. I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed so you can see where we're at with all this stuff. Now, there's been a lot of news about Juul this past week and voluntarily pulling their products off the shelves. I read a piece today that said they may have come to some sort of arrangement with the FDA so that they're not going to do that. But again, all this is a proposed rule, so there hasn't been anything that's happened yet, except for the fact that the price of Juul pods, as far as I can tell, is going through the friggin' roof. So if you like the Juul and you use the Juul, now might be a good time to explore some alternative salt nicotine pod systems, because as far as I know, most vape stores are going to continue to sell salt nicotine and other pod devices. But personally, here at this shop, we've never supported Juul because it's just not a company that we really jive with. Nothing against them. It just doesn't fit into the way that we do business. And I'm going to leave it at that. But if you like the Juul, you like the Juul experience, but you want an alternative that's maybe less expensive or more cost effective, there's plenty of open tank, as he referred to them, pod systems out there. They're going to give you the exact same experience, we'll call it, with the salt nicotine, but you can choose lower levels, so you don't have to be at 50, and there's 100 times more flavor options. So don't count Juul out. I'm sure they're not going anywhere. They're just trying to make the best possible deal for them. And in my personal opinion, they've never really been a friend of the vape industry anyway. So if they do decide to pull up and go to an online only type of business model, it ain't going to hurt my feelings none. But if you are a customer of theirs and you're freaking out, come see us or go to your local vape shop wherever you're at, because chances are they'll have something there that's more cost effective and is going to do exactly what you want it to do. So that's that. Now, this brings us to the next part in our lovely festivities. Let me just double check and make sure I haven't missed anybody's questions. Okay, so that clip was from, I believe, the Wall Street Journal. I found it on their website. It was actually tweeted out by the president of the VTA, Brittany Cushman, and a bunch of other people retweeted it, but I believe it's on the Wall Street Journal's website. And it was just like a 5-minute interview at some cancer symposium that they were doing, and he felt it necessary to kind of stick it to vaping there, but, it is what it is. So if you want to watch the full thing, there was only like another minute or so where he's just blabbling on about kids. That, the whole thing is based on, like I said, dog whistle politics, claiming that they're doing all this for the kids, but he could give a crap less because they're not regulating alcohol flavors. So don't let him fool you. He ain't doing nothing for the kids. But just the thing that astounds me is the ability to be so hypocritical in one 5-minute interview. To say yes and no, up and down, black and white, and act like it's normal. But I guess that's just the status quo in Washington nowadays. So there's that, and I already answered that question. Cool. moving right along, we are now in the segment I like to call Common Misconceptions. So, one of the most common misconceptions that we have here is people think that their vapes shouldn't ever leak. Now, granted, you would think that it wouldn't leak, but as our lovely friend here, Seth, likes to say, there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. And what I mean by that is there's a few little tricks that I want to try to show everybody that should help you if you have a problem with a particular vape leaking, or you're new to vaping and your tank's leaking and you can't figure out why. There's like 3 or 4 things that you really need to know that should be able to solve like 90% of leakage issues. First one is PG-VG ratio. And every single type of e-liquid has PG and VG in it. And most of them now have their ingredients on the actual bottle. So I don't know if I can get that to focus or not. Ooh, let's try. Can we do it? Can we do it? Nope. But right there, it has even the percentages. So this one is propylene glycol flavoring, less than 10%, vegetable glycerin, less than 90%. So that means this is 90% VG, 10% PG in flavoring. Now, what that means to you, the more VG that's in it, the thicker it's going to be. The thicker it's going to be, the less likely it is to leak, because the thicker juice has a harder time getting through the cotton to the coil or the medium that you're using there. So if you're using really thin juice like 50-50 or something that's higher in PG than it is in VG, that could potentially lead to leakage. The technology with these tanks and these coils nowadays are geared so much towards the thicker juice that if you do like a thinner juice or run a thinner juice in some of these newer tanks, that could cause leaking problems. So, step number 1, check your PG-VG. Number 2, most tanks nowadays are top fill. So you've got some sort of swing mechanism like this, or maybe it unscrews from the top, or maybe it slides open like this guy here, something like that. Now, it's great for convenience to be able to just use one hand and slide it open, squeeze the juice in there, slide it up. Super convenient. But something they didn't think about when they were taking these top fill designs into account is that the tank still has to have some sort of pressurization to it. That's part of what keeps the juice from just leaking out the whole thing. The coil does a lot of that, so they have to make sure there's enough cotton in there to keep the juice from just squirting out through the holes. But inversely, if there's too much cotton in the coil, then it's not going to get to the heating element fast enough, and you're going to get what we call dry hits, which makes it taste burnt. That's the downside of using too thick of a juice. If your juice is really, really thick, it could not get to the coil as fast as you're trying to burn it, and that's what causes dry hits or makes you feel like your coil's burnt out a day after you just got it. So what we recommend with any top filling tank device like this one, you want to, let me get this one because it's a little bit easier, close off that airflow control. So you can see the airflow is now closed all the way around there. There's no holes there. Then it's perfectly fine to go ahead and pop that bad boy open like that. Squirt my juice in there, fill it up, what have you. Once I've closed it, flip it upside down, let everything settle, and then I can open it back up again. And when I flip it back open, it's not going to leak. So that's for all you top fillers out there. Make sure you close off the airflow before you pop the top open. Fairly simple, but something that a lot of people I don't think know or have been taught. So we want to put that out there. And then if you're having problems and you have a top filling tank, think about if you've ever closed the airflow or not. If you haven't, try it next time and see if that works for you. The second or third most common thing is the coil itself needs to be in there fairly tight. A lot of times, as the heat builds up in the coil, the metal expands, and that can cause the coil to twist ever so slightly. And ever so slightly every day or a couple times a day will end up with either a reading of low atom or no atomizer, or it can cause just enough of a gap to let the juice leak through. And that's why the first thing I always do when somebody brings a tank into me and says my tank's leaking, I don't know why, is I check to make sure everything's screwed down real tight. Because when you put the coil in there and did everything properly, like you were told or like you learned, everything's good. But then a day, 2 days, 3 days, it just seems like it's leaking for no reason. The coil's still good. You close off the airflow when you top fill it, and you're using a thicker juice, so it can't be any of those three things. So it's got to be that the coil's getting loose. And it doesn't seem like it seems counterintuitive to think that the heat that your coil's producing can actually cause it to unscrew itself and loosen up a little bit. But the tolerances that we're working with here are literally tenths of millimeters. So all it takes is for that coil to screw like half a twist or a full twist out of the 10 or 12 that you have to tighten it all the way down. And that little gap can be enough to let the juice leak right through the airflow or the O-rings that are holding it together. So make sure everything's nice and tight. You don't want to take a pair of pliers and like wrench it on there, because that's going to mess up your tank and it could mess up the threading on your mod. But take the tank off, grab a paper towel, or my wife uses one of those little pot twister things, the rubber one that you get cans of jars and stuff off. Grab one of those and just give it a good twist. Make sure everything's loose. If you get a quarter turn out of it, that could be enough to cause your leaking issues. So make sure that it's nice and tight. And the next one, which is obvious to most people, but not everybody, the coil could just be burnt out. If you've had the coil in there for a while, it's been in there a week, 2 weeks, longer, and it just starts leaking, especially if it's like darker and colored liquid, chances are you need to change that coil, because after a while, the cotton inside the coil housing gets so saturated that it just can't hold back the juice anymore, because it's just oversaturated and been starting to burn out and got all kinds of excess carbon buildup on it. So it could just be burnt out. Put a new coil in there, prime it up properly, tighten everything down, you're good to go. And the last one is temperature change. We have this every year when it goes from hot to cold or cold to hot. Quick temperature changes can make a huge difference as far as how your coil wicks, and inversely, if your coil leaks or not. It's fairly cool this past week here. There's been a couple of times where it was in the 40s and 50s, which for me, a southern boy, is a little on the cooler side. And one of the things I've noticed is when I first wake up in the morning, when I go outside, if I'm outside for 10, 15, 20 minutes, I start hitting my vape and I may get a dry hit. And that's because this 90-10 juice that I'm using gets really thick when it gets cold, so it doesn't get into that coil quite as fast. So I have to remember to not hit it quite as often, or to take shorter pulls when I do hit it. Otherwise, I'm going to burn up the coil. And I actually did burn up the coil yesterday. I had to put a new one in last night because of that exact thing. Inversely, the opposite of that, if I'm chain vaping on it, and like say I'm driving to work and I'm hitting it and I'm hitting it and I'm hitting it and I'm hitting it, and then all of a sudden I set it down, I put mine in my cup holder, because when I used to put it on my lap, I'd stand up and it'd fall on the ground and I'd break the tank. So I stopped doing that. Now I put it in the cup holder, but it never sits straight up and down in my cup holder. It always has kind of a gangster lean thing going on to it, because my cup holders are square. Don't ask me why. So if I'm chain vaping on this thing the entire 15-minute ride to work, and then I drop it in the cup holder like that, and it's cold outside and I leave it in there, or I'm just not paying attention, I'll start to get a little trickle of juice out of here. And what happened was the temperature outside is cool, but I've heated up the tank so much by chain vaping on it constantly that the juice has gotten warm and thinned out. So when the tank goes back to cold, the juice is still a little bit thin, and it's trickling out ever so slightly. Matter of fact, you can see it's got a little bubble on it right there. See? A little bubble of juice right there. And that's because while I was getting ready for the show, I was reading a bunch of articles trying to find the article I was looking for, and I'm chain vaping on this thing. And that's what happens. So if you're in the car riding around, you got the heat cranking and your vape's just sitting there, if it's crooked, you may get a little seepage going on. And that's just from the drastic change in temperature. So keep an eye out for that. If you're close to a fire or a fireplace, you got the heat cranking in the car, that can thin the liquid out and cause it to have a little bit of seepage or leakage. That's really the top 4 or 5 things that we've been able to compile here as far as leaky tanks. I know it's the bane of some people's existence, and I wish I had a better answer for you. But, if you try to keep those few things in mind, don't let it get too close to the heater or the fireplace so that it heats up too rapidly, you really shouldn't have much problem. Most of the tanks nowadays are pretty good as far as leaking goes. There's a few that have issues, but it's always going to be like that because R&D can only get you so far until you put it out in the real world against working regular conditions. All right. So, doesn't seem like we have any common misconception questions. So, I'm going to keep on rolling through. Now, got a new product debut that we want to show you here, and it's new to us, sort of, but it's not new to everybody else. It's been out for a couple of months, but this is the VIA 240, and this one I believe they call the Demon, I want to say, but you may notice that screen looks a little familiar because it's made with the VO chip. And I know you guys know we love the VO chip here at RVA Vapes. So we picked up some of these guys to kind of relaunch. Any of you that have been watching us for a while may recognize this shape here. It's very similar to the CKS Cloud Kickers Society Icon 200 that we had back last spring. And for all intents and purposes, it's basically a redesigned version of that. But the main thing that I was concerned with is this guy. And any of you that bought them or read about them on Reddit or what have you know that the Icon was plagued with battery door issues. A couple reasons. It was a plastic hinge. They used a really small piece of brass and didn't really connect it or secure it very well on the original version. The chipset worked great, but just the design of the box had a couple of flaws in it. So when this came out, I was a little hesitant. So we let it kind of play out for a month or so and see what the reviews were as far as the battery door and all that kind of stuff. But I have to tell you, it successfully made it through the battering ram that is the vape Reddit scene, and now has gotten a fairly good reputation. The skins, or the cans, I think they call them, have a cool texture to them, so it's nice and grippy. It's got good feel. The buttons are a little bit updated. The 510 is flush mounted instead of raised up like the other one was. They've immensely improved this battery door holder here. But, the VO chip is a solid chipset, and we really love it. They actually got bought out by the company that makes these now, called USV. Bought out VO, so they now own the chipset, and they took that original design and kind of reworked it to make it a much better working design. So I wanted to touch base on that. Any of you that have seen our videos about the ARC mod or the Icon 200, you can go back and look at that as far as all the features and functions of the VO chip. But there's a brand new one that should be here later this week that's not even out yet, called the Thunder. And the Thunder is the newest product from USV, and RVA Vapes is going to have them, I believe, by Black Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to Rusty and all the guys over at USV for sponsoring our 5th birthday party coming up next weekend. We've got some cool stuff from them we're going to be giving away. We're going to be debuting those Thunder mods. First shop in Virginia, maybe even one of the first on the East Coast to have those. Comes as a kit, and I'll do a review on those once we get them in hand, but it's a dual 21700. That's what I'm super excited about. A dual 21700 with this fabulous VO chip. Can't wait to get my hands on one of those bad boys. So, this is the VIA 240. And we've got those, I believe, on sale Black Friday this weekend. So make sure you come by and grab yours while you can. And then we'll do the review on the Thunder when we get it in. Probably 2 weeks out because I'll have to shoot it and then edit it. And during the whole birthday party mess, it's just going to be chaotic. So keep an eye out for the Thunder from CKS. Next review coming up. And another new product that may or may not have crept up on you under the radar is Vupu came out with a new drag. But I'm not talking about the Drag 2. I'm talking about the Drag Mini. 4,400 milliamp hour internal battery. That's right, I have an internal battery mod that I'm vaping on. And the reason because it's so small. Look how tiny this thing is. Look at that. Fits perfectly in my hand. They've got these nice contoured panels and edges going on now. And I don't know if you can see this, but look at what's in that tank. That's a Fire-Luke mesh coil in this bad boy. And I gotta tell you, it's giving me amazing flavor. Right now, I've got this new Ripe from our friends at Branded. Shout out to you, Mr. Sean. They sent us a ton of stuff, just like these sweet t-shirts we got right here. Plus, at our party next Saturday, they've given us their entire line that we're going to give away to like 3, 4, 5 people. I don't even know how many we got. But the entire Branded line we're giving away next weekend at our birthday party. So if you're on the East Coast, if you're in the Mid-Atlantic area, hell, even if you're in California and you want to come hang out, giving away a PlayStation 4 as well. So make sure you come check it out. Now this stuff's really good. It's a mixture of white grape, citrus, and cherry juice, I believe it says. But I get a real subtle citrus from it and a really good grapey finish. I don't really taste the cherry, which I'm okay with because I'm not a big cherry fan, but I think it gives it like an underlying sweetness. So if you haven't checked that out, the Ripe Fruit from Branded Vapor, really good, clean grape flavor. So, a little bit more about the Drag Mini. It comes with this U-Force, I think they're calling it the U2 or the T2, but it's compatible with the previous generation coils as well as the Fire-Luke mesh coils, which is what I've gotten here. Like I said, the box is a 4,400 milliamp hour. It's got the new Gene Fan or Gene Fit chip in it. 1, 2, 3 clicks gets you into your menu. 1, 2, 3 more gets you. Crap. There we go. Oh, nope. That was 5 clicks. I'm not having any luck with this tonight. I was trying to show you the new feature called the Fit feature, which is designed to be very user-friendly. There it is. So you can see there it says Fit, and you got your 1, your 2, and your 3. So if I scroll down to the 1, that's going to be for battery life. So if I want maximum battery life, I'm going to set it on that 1. Decent amount of vapor, right? If I want to go to 2, that's where I like it at. That's the flavor setting. That grape just pops on that flavor setting. And now we're going to bump it up to the 3. That's your power setting. If I want to chuck some massive clouds, I'm going to put it on number 3. Damn! So that's the newest part of the Gene Fit chip that they put in here. And that third one kicks like a mule, man. I tell you what. It's not great on the coils. It's not going to kill it instantly, but it's definitely going to lose a day or 2 of coil life if you keep it on that setting. But if you want maximum vapor, that's the way to go. So adding that Fit setting in there gives you those 3 options, and it's super simple. You don't have to set the wattage. You don't have to do anything. You just pick 1, 2, or 3, and the chip does all the calculations for you, and it's beautiful. So that's your Vupu Drag Mini. and we will have a review coming on that, I believe, the week after the birthday party. This weekend is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to have a review for you, but I've got a fun little video that I put together. The birthday party weekend, I'm going to try to get a review done, but no guarantees. We may do a live stream from the party instead. So if you can't make it, you can always enjoy with us and see what kind of good stuff we got going on. But the last thing is a little sneak peek. And this is one of the flavors we're actually launching at the birthday party from our lovely friends right here. Bam! It's that Killer Custard Honeydew. Yeah, it just came out like 2 weeks ago, I want to say. We got it in store, so it's going to be here for the birthday party. We're launching it, and they sent us a bunch of cool stuff to give away as well. But I really like the Killer Custard, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. It's a really good custard with subtle, like French vanilla undertones. It gives it a little extra sweetness. But if I do too much of it, I can kind of get burnt out on it because it's just not quite as depth or have the depth that I'm looking for. So I was really excited about this because I love melon vapes. I was coming out, I was like, I gotta try that. So we got a sample of it last week and put it through the test, and it got 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up across the board. So we decided to bring it on in for the party, and we'll be launching the newest Killer Custard variation at our 5th birthday party coming up December 1st. It'll be available online for sale that following week, and if you want to pick it up first, you come by at the birthday party and you can get one of the first bottles of it. But if you don't like melon, I think you could still enjoy it because it's a very subtle honeydew sweetness that they've added to it. I get Killer Custard on the finish, or on the inhale, and then the finish is where I just get like the slightest sweet bits of honeydew pushed in there. And it's really, really tasty. Not overly sweet, not overly melon, just like perfectly dialed in. So shout out to Shane and all the guys out at Vapetasia for hooking us up with all the goodies. We even got a big ass flag, like a 6x3 or 5x2 or something. It's huge, man. It's like this friggin' big that we're going to be giving away to one lucky winner, along with the entire Killer Custard trio. So I guess it's a quadruple, I don't know, quint? No, that's 5. Quadro. Yeah, we'll go with that. The one lucky winner will get the big ass flag, the Killer Custard Quadro, and I think we got some keychains and some other cool stuff from them as well. So if you haven't tried it yet, make sure you check out the Killer Custard Honeydew. It's now my favorite Killer Custard. Or you can wait till our birthday party and come pick it up here at RVA Vapes. It will be on sale that weekend, so get you a little discount for the new hotness. You know what I mean? So I've covered my whole to-do list. Let's see what other questions we got. Oh, it's Mr. Rowan. What's up, Rowan? How you doing, bud? Feel like I just saw you. Rowan could tell you, if you haven't been to one of our events, he could tell you he had to get a ride from somebody one time because he won so much crap he couldn't even carry it all. Let's talk about this birthday party for a minute. So, we've been here for 5 years now, guys, and this is something that Noelle, my lovely partner, had kind of dreamt up, and I was kind of on a parallel plane that thought it was a really good idea around the same time. And a good friend of mine that I went to high school with actually ran into her, and she was vaping at Poorhouse. Any of you that are from Richmond, you know Poorhouse. And they started talking. She was like, oh, my friend, you know, blah, blah, blah. She was like, oh, well, I was getting ready to start a vape shop too. And so we ended up getting together. We had lunch one day, kind of talked about it, and came to an agreement that, you know, we should try to do this together instead of trying to do it separately. And that was back in September, October, 5 years ago. We opened the doors on, I believe, November 21st of 2013. So tomorrow is actually 5 years officially. But we had so much going on, and with the FDA and then Thanksgiving, so we decided to give ourselves a little extra time to get everything together that we wanted to do for this party. And it's come together really well, guys. I'm super excited about it. Like I said, if you're anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic region, it's worth a 3 or 4 hour drive. I promise you. We got some great sponsors involved. We got Ruthless gave us a bunch of stuff that we're going to be kicking out, including some brand new flavors that aren't even like released yet technically, but I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Got some really cool t-shirts from them. Got some goodie bags full of stuff. Got some big 120 mils that we're going to be giving away, like that right there. The guys at USV were super cool. They sent us the Thunders pre-batch, so we've got like a pre-shipment of those that we're going to be able to sell, and I think they're sending us some mod to give away as well. Our Boosted, shout out to you, Corey. My man Corey at Boosted hooked us up. We got 2 boxes worth of swag and juice and prizes from them that we're going to be able to give away, and he even hooked it up with a 40-inch flat screen TV. So we're giving away a 40-inch flat screen TV courtesy of you, Corey, and our friends at Boosted. Shout out to you guys. What else we got? Oh yeah, I already said branded. My man Sean hooked us up with a ton of shirts and hats and like 4, 5, 6. I don't even know how many full lines of his juice that we're giving away. What else? I know we got something else. Oh, Mr. Nathan, John Nathan at ADV Casadaga. He's sending us a ton of stuff. I just talked to him today. He said there's a Hexome in there. So we got a Hexome box mod that we're giving away. Plus, I'm sure he included the full line at least once or twice of his wonderful flavors. We just started carrying the ADV collection. We just started carrying the Drizzled. So if you haven't tried those and you like Beantown or you like Casadaga, definitely check those ones out. They're real good, savory dessert flavors. What else? Oh, shout out again to Vapetasia. Like I said, they sent us a bunch of stuff. We got their new flavor dropping. Naked 100, shout out to you guys. They sent us a bunch of posters to give away. We got some cool stickers from them supporting the No Minors movement. We don't sell to anybody without an ID. Who else sent us some stuff? I literally have like 10 boxes worth of crap back here. I can't even remember who sent us all this stuff. Oh, Air Factory. Shout out to those guys. They just we just did a raffle with them where we gave away a $200 prize pack of theirs, and it went so well that we talked them into giving us a PlayStation. I don't know how, but I did it. So we're giving away a PlayStation 4 Slim in the shop December 1st. Don't want to miss that. We also got some crazy Black Friday deals that were going on. We got, what do we got here? We got 120 ml bottles for $25 on Black Friday. We got these smoke Reza sticks. They were going to be selling for like $25-$30 on Black Friday. What else do we got? We got these dope Centurion water cooled mods. They're going to be like 50% off on Black Friday. I don't even know. There's more stuff there, and I don't even remember what it is now. So, make sure that you're here December 1st, starting at 3 p.m., so that you can see all the stuff we got. I can't even explain it all. I'm out of time tonight. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate your participation. Tell all your friends, share it on your Facebook groups. Let's get twice as many people next month. But we do this for the education of it, you know. Obviously, we want to try to get as many people here to RVA Vapes or at shop.rvavapes.com on our website as we can. But at the end of the day, this is all about education and advocacy. So if you have problems in your state, see if you can find your local state organization or check out savevapor.org. That's the VTA's website. And here at Virginia, our Virginia Smoke Free Association works directly with VTA. So they help us out here in Virginia, but they're helping out a lot of other states too. So check out their website to see if they're in your state. Last but certainly not least, thank you all for watching. Tune into our reviews every Saturday, except this Saturday because it's Thanksgiving. And if you want to smoke, that's your business. If you don't, holla at us.